Hello everyone, I thought I would do a video update this time, see how that goes. I'm going to do a catch up with the previous 2 updates, just to get everything all wrapped up, because there's quite a few bullet points here. I guess the first thing to talk about would be this title screen. You know, it's a little bit different. A lot of the AI art I was using as placeholder was a bit too old and was quite distracting. So now I've updated the new AI art just as still placeholder, of course, but just to be a little less distracting, less smudgy, less weird looking. And yeah, that was just a quick thing that I did, but that's by far the least important part of this update. Why didn't I just jump in here? So just like this previous 0.2 content update, I have a debug screen that the player starts on, so you can skip ahead to whichever content you'd like. If you're coming to the demo new, I highly recommend that you just start from the beginning, but if you've already played before, then you can use this to skip ahead because, well, saves probably won't work between content updates. They might break, so rather than deal with that mess, because it's not really important during active dev to worry about such a thing, I just made this debug screen to quickly catch people up. With that being said, let's first take a glance at 0.3.2 to see what's new. Alright, and as you can see, we start off here in Christdale. And this is complete with a debug vendor and a debug crafter, just in case the player doesn't want to go all the way back to where he actually is, because they just want to start where they're supposed to be. So this new zone is it's kind of a suburb area where there's a little town living here. And in addition to this town is a dungeon of a water treatment plant, which I will show you after the lockpicking section. In 0.3.3, I updated the weapon UI when comparing items. So now you get much more useful information. It should hopefully be faster to read. Unfortunately, this section is still useless, outdated info. But now this section is specifically for flavor text, and this one has all numbers. And you can get all sorts of useful information about what the weapon does at a glance. On top of that, this open slot here, when you plug something in, it will automatically update the rest of the information. Why don't I demonstrate that? Alright, so here I am at the equipment screen. If I attach, you see my shotgun. It has the same info screen here. I'll put in the open slot a gun blade, and voila. It says lethal, damage updates, and all this info is now relevant. Also updated it to keep track of your attributes. So say I buy some efficiency so I can use more bullets. See, now the reload cost is 2. Wow. So just ignore my position here. I'm just going to cheat so I can show off the new hacking system. As one of the new things I've implemented is I've redone the hacking minigame. The old one was too complicated, so I made something a bit simpler. And here you can see, even without a tutorial, it's pretty simple. It's just basically a very simple version of Sudoku. And you can just walk around, choose the numbers, make sure nothing repeats, and you'll get in pretty fast. It's a lot faster than the old puzzle. Voila. And the next minigame I've also updated is the lockpicking minigame, which functionally is the same, but it should be much smoother to play. As you can see, when I press left and right, I just snap into position. I no longer just walk around awkwardly. I've also updated the art a little bit just to use the same asset pack. And the background has also been changed. And on top of that, I have implemented mouse controls, where if you scroll to the sides of the screen, you can move that way as well, so you don't have to use the arrow keys or WASD if you don't feel like it. But on top of that, this works just by pressing interact and cancel. You no longer have to do the weird hold shift and interact. And here's that new dungeon I was talking about, full of spiders and creepy things. Something you may have noticed when I first started the map was this level up notification. I definitely noticed that it's hard to keep track for people when they level up and that they have points that they can spend. So I worked with forums and stuff to add more to this window, and it only shows when you actually have points available. So if I actually go in here and spend all these points, it will go away. Another new feature that was actually something of a stretch goal that I was trying to hit for 3.4 that I'm not really planning on doing, but I guess I did anyway, is a world map. As you can see, it's very placeholder. Everything is very much just focused on functionality rather than aesthetic at the moment. As usual, I'll probably do the artification sometime in either alpha or beta, not in the pre-alpha. It's just not worth my time to worry about right now. But this is a pretty basic map. It just shows you where you are and how you can get from each location, and how everything links up. And as you may notice, you only have two options here. You can also access it from this menu. And one of the main functions of this is that you can go back to your home base. And this kind of feeds into the Metroidvania aspect of the game, so that you are able to kind of go out and branch out into the world and then return home. My game world, as you can see, is too gigantic, so I felt it didn't really make sense to have multiple points where you could fast travel to. But along that note, I kept things simple in terms of how far you could actually go, so that way you never have to go like 10 screens to get anywhere, right? Like the farthest you'd have to go is here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 screens. And without spoilers, there's a reason why it takes you so much effort to get here, and also so much effort to get here. I've definitely played Metroidvanias in the past where they just have this gigantic chain of screens that you have to get through to get to places, and it becomes a major nuisance. Not that my game is necessarily a Metroidvania, but, you know, it's a light Metroidvania. We'll call it that.
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters.
The last real feature I have is a rapid item use. While I was making this game, I realized that this whole item scrap concept would involve a lot of clicking if the player actually wanted to use all of their scrap chunks. So, you see I have 8 here, and each one gives me 10 bullets. So going through this menu and using this 8 times would be pretty tedious. So I just made this little system that just asks you and allows you to quickly just use a bunch of them at a time. I'll probably add the number 10 to that one because you do get a lot of those, but I don't think it would make sense to have like a number enter thing. I think this is a bit smoother and more sensible. I don't think there's going to be too much problem with people wanting to be overly specific about how many to use, but I guess we'll see in playtesting. And the last thing I'll talk about here is I just updated some of the animations, got rid of some more of the RTP. One of the examples is this death animation. You see that kind of bloody thing happened, and there was a skull mixed in there. There's not too much to say about that. That's just about making sure there's less RTP, more consistency in the art style. Another thing is I showed the XP as an item that you loot now, just because since I streamlined this menu so much, there's no way to tell if the player is actually gaining experience, so I threw that in there. And just to show this slam move again, because I forgot to attach the new animation. And that's it for this update. Hope you guys appreciate getting this info in video form. I'll see you next time.